listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a relationship coach and I help people who are engaging in anything they think counts as infidelity to deal with their feelings, clarify what they want, and make decisions about what they're going to do. No shame, no blame, no judgments. A lot of the so-called advice out there for people who are cheating on their partners is little more than thinly veiled judgment, but that is not what I provide. I provide support and guidance that respects the fullness of your humanity and the complexity of your situation, no matter what you're doing. The point of working with me is to resolve your infidelity situation in a way that you feel great about so that you can love your love life and you can love your whole life as well. Infidelity situations can be pretty exciting and life-affirming, but they can also become really stressful and exhausting. At some point, you may want to make some choices and some changes so that you can have the love life you want to have instead of dealing with all of the drama in your love life and having that drama take up a huge portion of your precious time and energy, right? I offer one-on-one coaching that is tailored to your specific needs. And if you are interested in working with me in that way, you can head right on over to my website, mariemurphyphd.com, and schedule an introductory coaching session with me. Also, as I've been announcing in recent episodes, starting in January, I will be offering 2 new ways that you can have me as your coach. I'll be offering a group coaching program called You're Not the Only One that will include teachings that go beyond what I can offer on the podcast, as well as anonymous group coaching calls. Sometimes the most helpful thing in the world is to hear that other people are dealing with similar challenges, right? So when you get on these group coaching calls, you'll have the opportunity to be coached by me yourself, and you'll have the opportunity to hear other people who are dealing with their own infidelity situations get coaching from me as well. Pretty cool stuff. In addition to that, I'll be offering a self-study course that includes just my teachings and assignments without the group coaching calls for those of you who want a DIY approach. Have a brand new website, and you can go to that new website and sign yourself up to be on the list to be notified when these new programs become available for you to join. And again, my website is mariemurphyphd.com, and you can go to the services page for more information on all of the ways you can work with me. All right. When this episode comes out, it's going to be early December, I think. And we're getting into that time of year when some of my clients who are in the United States and are navigating the quote unquote typical holiday season here find themselves in what seems to be a difficult predicament. This applies to people who are not in the United States too, but the timing of American Thanksgiving adds another layer to the holiday stuff for people in the United States. Anyway, at this point in the year, if my client has been planning on breaking up with someone for a while, but hasn't managed to yet, they find themselves within a stretch of time that seems to a lot of people like a time frame in which it is impossible to break up with someone. So, to be more specific, if I'm thinking about this correctly, this episode is going to air on December 7th. So that's right at the beginning of Hanukkah. And it's about 2.5 weeks before Christmas. And then we can't forget about Boxing Day, although I guess that's not a very American thing, but never mind that. And then there's New Year's. So if somebody has gotten past Thanksgiving and to the point of about December 7th without breaking up with the person they've been considering breaking up with, they may swiftly find themselves in early December. And at this point, it can seem like they truly cannot break up with the person they wanted to break up with until after New Year's. Now, it is important to remember that it isn't true that you literally cannot break up with someone in early December. You absolutely can, or even mid-December, or even late December. You can break up with someone on Christmas Day if you want to, right? But it's also okay to choose not to. So what I suggest is that if you have found yourself in early December and you've been wanting to break up with someone, but you haven't managed to do it yet, and you don't want to do it until the holidays are over, you don't want to break up with a person during the holidays, in other words, here's what I recommend you do. Decide right now that you're going to wait until the holidays are over to execute your breakup. If you want to postpone your breakup until after the holidays, you can. And if that is what you want, I encourage you to make that your official decision and then get on with the business of making the best of that decision. What sometimes keeps people from making that decision officially and then committing to making the best of that decision is the fear that it's really bad to break up with someone right after the holidays are over. People don't want to break up with someone during the holidays because that seems really bad. But they also don't want to break up with someone right after the holidays because that seems really bad too. Here's the deal, people. If you really don't want to break up with someone during the holidays, it's your prerogative to choose not to do that. But if that's what you choose, then you're going to have to do it after the holidays. Unless, of course, you want to keep putting off breaking up with your person forever. And you may not want to do that. I know that so many of us dread initiating a breakup. And I know that actually initiating a breakup can be mighty uncomfortable. But if you want to be able to experience life beyond the realm of a particular relationship, then dealing with that discomfort is worth it. It's really important to remember that whenever you choose to break up with someone, there are probably going to be features of the timing that you could consider challenging or less than ideal, and also reasons why you could consider the timing advantageous. And from the perspective of the person you're breaking up with, any time you break up with them might seem like a bad time for a breakup. And any time other than when you actually break up with them, might seem to them like it would have been a better time for the breakup, right? So with that in mind, let's talk about how you can make the best of breaking up with someone right after the holidays. Let's talk about why committing to breaking up with someone after the holidays can be great, or at least very much okay, and what you want to do after you make the decision to time your breakup in this manner. Now, this first thing might seem really obvious, but it's really important. If you really do not want to break up with someone during the holidays, for whatever reasons, you simply do not have to. Recognizing that and giving yourself permission to not do something you don't want to do is really important. Recognizing and making use of your own agency is not a small thing. What happens for some people is they get the idea in their head well in advance of the holidays that they want to break up with their person. Maybe it's their spouse or committed partner. Maybe it's their affair partner. Maybe it's someone else. It doesn't really matter who specifically we're talking about for today's purposes. But then they don't actually manage to execute the breakup. And then the holidays creep up and they think, okay, I've really got to break up with them well before the holidays. I know I want to do it, so I really need to make this happen. And then it doesn't happen. And then they start to give themselves a hard time for that. And then all of a sudden, Thanksgiving draws near. And they don't break up with their person before Thanksgiving, and they feel kind of awful about that. But then a few more days pass, and whoops, all of a sudden it's mid-December. And they're like, oh my God, I should have broken up with this person months ago. I knew I wanted to do it then. I didn't do it then, and that's terrible. So I should really do it now instead of dragging this out for any longer. But I can't do it now because we're in the middle of the holidays and I just don't want to do that to them. And then we drive ourselves crazy by telling ourselves that we should do something, but we don't really want to, and we don't make a clear decision about how we're going to make the best of our situation. We beat ourselves up and give ourselves a lot of trouble from multiple angles instead of deciding what we're going to do and making the best of that. If you just do not want to break up with someone during the holidays, Allow yourself to decide to wait until after the holidays, and then allow yourself to enjoy not dealing with a breakup during the holidays. A lot of people say they don't want to break up with their person during the holidays because they don't want to ruin the holidays for their person. But then they're so freaked out about breaking up with their person after the holidays are over that they act really weird in their relationship throughout the holidays. And this may not be fun for you or for your soon-to-be ex-person. And moreover, if you're super uncomfortable because whenever you're around them, all you can think about is how you're going to break up with them after the holidays, they may sense that something is amiss with you. And they may want to know what's wrong. And if they start asking you what's wrong, that may compound your problems. If you are hoping to engage with your person, your soon-to-be ex-person, during the holidays in a way that brings them joy or makes the holidays at least not bad for them, you're going to have to allow yourself to be present with them. Instead of focusing on the future and thinking about your breakup, you're going to have to be able to be in the moment with them. Now, some people say, well, how can I possibly do that when I know I'm going to be breaking up with them soon? Here's the interesting thing. More than one thing can be true at once. You can be planning to end a relationship, and you can also be committed to being present with your person and enjoying your time with them. You can be planning to break up with your partner, and you can also engage with them, and you can also be genuine with them. Yes, you may simultaneously be keeping some important information from them. But if you've been wanting to break up with them for a while already, you've been keeping important information from them for some time already. Withholding this information for any longer may be uncomfortable for you, but it's part of what comes with your decision to not break up with your person during the holidays. And if you've been doing this for a while already, if you've been wanting to break up with someone but not doing it and feeling uncomfortable as a result, you can keep on feeling uncomfortable in this way for a little while longer, and you can trust that it probably isn't going to kill you. Here's the crazy thing to consider that actually isn't so crazy. We can connect with people in truly genuine ways, even if we keep things from them. That might sound conniving or duplicitous or maybe even evil, but I don't know that it necessarily is. More than one thing can be true at once. We can be keeping important information from someone, and we can also care about them very much and connect with them in a genuine way. Now, if you think that sounds like an awful thing to do that no human should ever do to another human who they care about, I have a great solution for you. Go break up with your person right now. Turn off this podcast and go tell your person that you want to end your relationship with them. Simple. If you are totally put off by anything that gives off a whiff of dishonesty or duplicity, there's a really simple way out of that problem. But if the challenge is that you just don't know how to be present and engaged with your partner when you know you're going to be breaking up with them soon, your opportunity lies in using your power to focus. You can focus on what's going on right now in the immediacy of your interactions with your person. You can focus on what you truly enjoy about them. You can focus on what you truly appreciate about your relationship with them. You can focus on what you genuinely enjoy about spending time with them during the holidays. One moment at a time, one day to the next, 1 week to the next. Now, for some of us, choosing to focus on something or anything in particular and keeping our focus there instead of letting our minds wander off in any old direction they feel like heading off in is a real challenge. The way we get better at using our power to focus to our advantage is by practicing, keeping our focus where we want it to be, one moment at a time, again and again, again and again and again. The great news is we can lose focus 1,000,000 times and we can redirect our focus 1,000,000 times. So I don't think you can get away with saying, well, it's impossible for me to be present with the person I'm about to be breaking up with because I just have a really hard time focusing. Sorry, that's not going to cut it. We all have a really hard time focusing, at least sometimes. We live in an age of omnipresent distractions, and we can all stand to practice focusing on what we consciously decide we want to focus on, one moment at a time. So, this may sound weird to you, but if you want to, you can use this time with your partner before you break up with them or your person, maybe not your partner, to cherish your relationship before it ends or before the relationship enters a new phase. You can use this time prior to breaking up with your person to really enjoy what you've shared and are still sharing. Now, as you're doing all of this, as you're enjoying your person and not breaking up with them during the holidays, you can also squirrel away some time to prepare for executing your breakup. If you've decided you're not going to do it now, but you're going to do it soon, the breakup, you can take action in the service of this decision. Don't try to tell yourself that you're too busy during the holidays to do this, to plan for the breakup. You're allowed to make choices, but you are not allowed to make excuses. You are allowed to make excuses, but why would you want to? It's your life. If you eventually want to transition out of this relationship or out of this phase of your relationship with a particular person, why would you want to make excuses that get in the way of actually doing that? Don't worry. I know why you'd want to make excuses. But if you really want to move steadily towards a particular outcome, you don't want to let yourself get away with your excuses. So don't believe your excuses. Find a way to set aside some time to prepare for the breakup you're planning to execute pretty soon. I have several podcast episodes dedicated to preparing for a breakup, so you can listen to those if you need help getting ready. And the episodes I'm referring to are episodes numbers 72, 73, 131, and 161, and we'll make sure those are in the show notes. Deciding when you are going to break up with someone is part of preparing to break up with them. And I want to suggest that if you have consciously decided that you're going to wait until after the holidays to break up with your person, you may want to consciously decide exactly when you are going to break up with them. And the reason is because if the holidays seemed like a good excuse to postpone your breakup, anything else could seem like a good reason to delay your breakup too. For instance, a lot of people are sure that they just need to get through the holidays and then they can break up with their person, get through the holidays, and then decide that they don't want to break up with their person too soon after the holidays because their person might ask them something like, "How long have you been planning on doing this for? Were you plotting to break up with me all through the holidays? Were you keeping this from me that whole time?" We're going to talk about how you can handle questions like that in a moment. But first, I want to suggest that trying to avoid being asked questions like those by waiting for a certain amount of time to go by after the holidays are officially over before you initiate your breakup is not a good idea. There is no way to time your breakup in such a way that you ensure that your person will not ask you questions that you feel uncomfortable hearing. That's just not an option that's on the table. So if you've done yourself the favor of deciding to wait until after the holidays to break up with your person because you just don't want to execute a breakup during the holidays, do yourself another favor and decide when you really are going to break up with them. Make a definite plan. Do not let yourself come up with an endless list of reasons to delay doing what you've decided to do. Now, of course, is it possible that if you break up with your person in early January, they might ask questions like, "Well, what were you thinking? What were you thinking about during the holidays? Were you faking all of your feelings for me during the holidays? How could you do this to me right now?" Yes, of course it's possible that people will ask questions like that. The question is not how do you avoid them, but how can you prepare yourself to deal with those kinds of questions? First, it's important to recognize that you may feel uncomfortable if someone asks you questions like, how long have you been thinking about breaking up with me for all kinds of reasons. And it's also important to recognize that timing your breakup differently will not solve for this discomfort. So I encourage you to be ready to answer these kinds of questions if you're concerned the person you're breaking up with might ask you questions like these. Just expect that they may come and be ready to deal with them instead of letting the possibility that someone might ask you these questions become a reason to stop in your tracks. So, how might you answer these kinds of questions? If someone asks you, did you know you were going to break up with me before the holidays? How could you possibly answer that? Well, you could lie and say, no, this idea just came to me. Here it is, January 2nd. And I woke up this morning and I decided that I wanted to break up with you. Now, I'm being a little glib as I say this, of course. But my point really is that if you wanted to, you could tell someone that you actually haven't been thinking about breaking up with them for very long. You could lie and tell someone that you were not entertaining the idea of breaking up with them during the holidays or planning to break up with them during the holidays. You could say that, this just came to you in a dream a couple nights ago or something. It is absolutely your prerogative to do that if you want to. But if you've been thinking about breaking up with someone for longer, you might prefer to tell a little more of the truth. You might prefer to say that, yes, you were contemplating the end of your relationship prior to or during the holidays. You could, if you wanted to, couch this a little bit and say something like, you were really overwhelmed during the holidays and you wanted to make it through the holidays to make it absolutely sure that you were thinking clearly about what you wanted. You could, if you wanted to, say that you were considering breaking up with them before the holidays, but you thought it would be a terrible time for a breakup, so you decided to wait. You could tell them that there's never a great time for a breakup, but you thought that all things considered, it would be better to deliver your news after the holidays rather than during the holidays. These kinds of things are probably true for you to a great extent. They might not be the whole truth. You may have been considering breaking up with your person since April, but they may be an important part of the truth. If your person says to you, well, I wish you just told me you wanted to break up with me as soon as you'd known that's what you wanted to do. I wish you hadn't waited until after the holidays. If they say something like that, you can tell them, look, I am really sorry. I can understand why you might have preferred that. But guess what? I was pretty confused and freaked out. I was scared to have this conversation with you, and I was trying to time it in a way that was as considerate of you as possible. I can understand why the timing might seem not great to you, not considerate of you, and I'm sorry, but I did the best I could. You can acknowledge that they have every right to not like your choices, and you can give them some insight into why you made the timing choices that you did. And you can express sympathy for their dislike of your choices about timing, right? You can do all of these things in a really humane way, and you can say these kinds of things without trying to defend yourself or without trying to solve for their feelings. Even when we do our best to break up with someone in a manner that we think is as caring or considerate as possible, the person we're breaking up with has every right to say effectively, screw you. And we have every right to say, look, I'm really sorry you don't like this, but I just did the best I could. We don't have to get super defensive. Again, we do not have to get super defensive. And I highly recommend that you don't. But we can say, listen, there's just never a great time for a breakup. And I get it that you don't like this timing, but I really thought it would be best to wait after the holidays. I made a judgment call and that's what it was. And if they want to get into a debate with you about how anyone could possibly think that it's considerate to wait until after the holidays to break up with someone when you've been thinking about breaking up with someone since before the holidays, well, you just don't have to get into that debate with them. Again, you can tell them that you did what you thought was best. You can apologize for handling the breakup imperfectly, because who doesn't handle a breakup imperfectly? And you can remind yourself that the point of breaking up with someone is not to execute the Olympic gold medal version of the breakup. It's just to get the breakup done. It's to accomplish the task at hand. If your person wants to know how you could have possibly acted like everything was fine between the two of you during the holidays when you knew that you were about to break their heart and crush their hopes and dreams, you could also tell them a version of the truth. You can tell them how much you like them and love them and care about them and enjoy them. And you can tell them that you were genuinely focused on enjoying your time with them during the holidays. They might take issue with that, of course. They might call you a selfish, deceptive fucker or something along those lines. And you can let them take issue with your behavior. You can acknowledge that they have every right to not like what you did. And you can also tell them, if you want to, that your intentions weren't all that terrible. You can stick up for yourself a little bit without getting defensive. You can make the case that you did the best you could without trying to convince them that they shouldn't feel the way they feel. The person you're breaking up with may not know this, but you can know this. Breaking up with someone is a pretty difficult thing to do, or at least many people find it to be a pretty difficult thing to do, and that's fair enough. And there are a million reasons why people put off breaking up with people they care about, even when they're sure they don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore. And does that really do anyone any favors? I would suggest that it does not. The person you're breaking up with may not know this now, but you are probably doing them a huge favor by breaking up with them and setting them free. If you're not interested in being involved with them anymore, is there any value in not letting them know that, no matter what the timing ends up being, right? If there is value in setting someone free, if you don't want to be involved with them anymore, and I think there is, then it's possible that in the long run, the timing of your breakup isn't really the point. Sure, the person you're breaking up with may not know that now or soon. If you break up with them right after the holidays, they might tell you something like, well, now you've ruined the holidays for me forever, even though that was exactly what you were trying not to do. They might say to you, well, since you broke up with me right after the holidays, I'm always going to go into the holiday season filled with dread that something really bad is going to happen as soon as January 2nd rolls around. Now, it can be really hard to hear someone say that. If someone tells us that we have damaged them forever, we may take them at their word and we may feel terrible about what we've done. I want to suggest that you can take people seriously if they say that they're going to go into the holidays dreading that something bad is going to happen as soon as the holidays are over forever and ever for the rest of their lives and that it's all your fault. You can take it seriously that they're hurting, and right now they believe this to be true. You can care that right now they believe this to be true, but you don't have to take them literally. You do not have to agree with them that it is actually the case that they will forever be messed up because of you breaking up with them in early January. Nobody knows what the future holds, after all, and that's just one of the reasons why you do not have to buy into their prediction. Also, what they decide to make of you breaking up with them right after the holidays is up to them. You are responsible for your actions, but you are not in charge of how people interpret your actions. Period. The end. Even if the person you're breaking up with is really dismayed in the moment, which they have every right to be, they may also change their minds about what they think in the future. And moreover, they are in charge of their own future. They do not have to go into the next holiday season and the next one and the next one and the next one thinking that something really bad is going to happen as soon as January 2nd rolls around. That's for them to take responsibility for dealing with. Your job is to make the best of your decision to break up with your person after the holidays, and then to allow both you and your person to move forward in your lives. And ultimately, that's a great thing for everybody. All right, people, that is it for today. If you would like my help dealing with your infidelity situation in a way that's truly right for you, let's work together. You can go to my website, mariemurphyphd.com, and sign up for an introductory coaching session with me one-on-one, or you can sign yourself up to be notified when my new programs become available. We are shooting for early January, and we're still on track for that as of this recording, so stay tuned for more details. And as this calendar year winds down and another one is about to begin, dealing with your infidelity situation in a proactive, deliberate way may be a goal you want to consider setting for the new year. And whenever you're ready to work towards that goal, I'm here to help you do it. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.